with people hearing before, so I want to make sure everyone can hear. And Rachel, where's Rachel? No, there's Rachel, the other Rachel. We'll make sure you speak in the speaker because people have been like this and nobody can hear. So anyway, welcome. Does anybody need coffee before we start? No? And phones off? Ringers off? And if you need to go to the restroom, it's outside the door by the fireplace, and you keep walking to the right and you'll find the restroom. We'll be having our raffle at the end, and anything else? Oh, on your table there's a thing about fika. Does anybody know what fika is? No. It's a Swedish term for getting together with friends and family and enjoying time together in a relaxed atmosphere. And when you go to Sweden, everybody has fika all day long. And I'm very Swedish, and so I love fika. And so Rachel and I would like to host a fika coffee time at the Via Maestra in September 20th. But we need you to register because we have to let Via Maestra know that you're coming. But it'll be hosted by Rachel and I. And so if you want to come, please sign up. And then we will email you to remind you. And it'll just be a relaxing time to just sit and have coffee and enjoy friends. So that's what fika is. So here's Rachel.
Good morning. Thank you everybody for being here. Just wanted to remind you that we do have our upcoming seminars. So we're very excited about today having Rachel with our Healthy Habits, Fitness, and Nutrition at 60 and Beyond. The rest of the lineup for this year is the importance of having your legal affairs in order, overcoming resistance to change and managing stress, and then healing with humor, recognizing the joy in everyday living. We would also love to thank our sponsors, Quinn Fiduciary, Lodestar Movers, the Museum of Natural History, Paragon Mortgage Group, Santa Barbara Gift Baskets, State Street Insurance Solutions, Pour Lamar Nursery, and Linda Rosso. We are always open to ideas and topics that you want to learn more about, so please reach out to Nancy or myself. And a little bit about Rachel McDonald. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you. Rachel is not only an ACE certified personal trainer, but an ACE certified fitness nutrition specialist, ACE senior fitness specialist, AFAA group fitness instructor, specializes in Tabata boot camp, a certified master trainer, and Bar Above certified master trainer. Rachel's areas of expertise are in nutrition, strength training, flexibility, and mobility, posture, functional training, myofascial, how do you say that? Myofascial release, and injury prevention and dance. Without further ado, here's Rachel!
Thank you for that lovely intro, and thank you so much, Rachel and Nancy, for having me out today. And I do feel like I'm a little bit dressed down. So lovely. I have little choice in my wardrobe that isn't fitness-inspired wear, so you got my nice jeans. As they mentioned, I've been in this industry for about 12 years now, but prior to that had some extensive training in dance and have always had a lifelong passion for healthy movement. I suffered a lot of injuries when I was a dancer as a child and a teen, and when I got into more of the fitness end of things as an adult, it very quickly became apparent to me how important it was going to be to have healthy movement that was going to be the least risky for injuries, because of course the older we get, the longer those little injuries take to heal from, and then it's a big setback, and staying consistent with your movement is just so important. So if we can avoid those little injuries, it's so important for us. And so we're going to talk about healthy exercise. We're going to talk about just some basic nutrition. And I did have to move my projector just a little bit closer because the cable I came with was a little short, so I know that the font size might be a little bit smaller, but everybody does have a handout, hopefully from me, that's got the outline. Take notes on that page if you want. And then if you can just save any questions, just jot them down on that piece of paper. We're gonna have time for Q&A at the very end, all right? There's a lot to cover, so I'm gonna go ahead and just dive right into this. We're gonna start with the exercise end of things. First off, I wanna make sure that we're all gonna be on the same page as we proceed. So here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the importance of exercise. We'll talk about the physiology of aging and exercise, and I'll reference a few studies. There's been a lot of them, but I picked out a few good quotes. We'll review the types of fitness, the corresponding how and why those are all important. I think if I were to take a little survey across the room, you'd probably all end up with a little picture of what fitness is, what exercise is, that would probably go into two different buckets, but there's more buckets than that. And then, of course, the most important part, how you fit it all into your life, because as I was discussing with one of the tables earlier, we've all got so many important things in our life, and how do we prioritize all of those important things? And I think a lot of times it's no surprise to any of us that we should be exercising more, but how to do that, how to fit it into our busy lives, and sometimes just how to get the little kick in your tail to get that going too. All right, the physiology of aging and exercise. Want to define what aging is, because of course there is chronological age, which we all have a very specific number that is our chronological age. How many years, months, days, we could go even deeper than that we have existed on this planet. But we also have our biological age, and a biological age does vary from person to person and doesn't necessarily line up with your chronological age. Factors that will impact your biological age are your diet, exercise, stress, smoking, sleeping habits, your physical environment, where you live, where you work, etc. And of course, predetermined genetic expression. While we have a lot of factors that we can do something about, unfortunately there are some factors that we can't do much about. All of that adds up to a relative age. Are you aging faster or slower than your chronological age would imply? As we age, there are a number of structural physical changes that happen in our body. We'll see an increase in atrophy, that's a wasting, dystrophy, which is an inadequate nutrition or response in the body, edema, which is too much fluid, demyelinization, which is the myelin sheath around your brain, nerve fibers starting to really kind of come apart and disintegrate. Neoplasm is a new growth that is not something that we are wanting. That would be like a cancer. And of course, mutation as our cells replicate over and over and over again. The prevalence of little errors starting to creep up become more and more likely. Now, those structural changes are more likely to increase, and those are some kind of fancy-ish words, but what does that mean for us in our daily life? Well, it means that we're going to see a decrease in functional consequences. And these are going to be things that you're probably going to be able to tap into a little bit better. Your accuracy, speed, range, endurance, coordination, stability, strength, and elasticity all begin to decline. Womp womp, we don't want that to happen. So, studies. So many studies have been done about the importance of exercise and aging. I picked out three good ones, three good sentences that sum it all up. People who exercise regularly have lower biological ages than people with the same chronological age who do not exercise. Yay, we want that. There's in case you want to look it up. No, they're gonna have to get real close to see it. Physical activity offers one of the greatest opportunities to extend years of active, independent life reduce disability, and improve the quality of life for midlife and older persons. And regular physical activity is associated with a decreased risk of activities of daily living disability in older adults. It's a little bit of a clunky sentence. Activities of daily living are all the things that we need to do to just go about our daily life. So we're talking personal hygiene kind of things, bathing yourself, toileting, sitting and standing regularly, going to the grocery store, walking around your house, not tripping on the rug. What else am I missing? Laundry, dressing, cooking, cleaning your own house. All right, so if you get regular physical activity, that's going to mean that you can continue to do all of those activities of daily living longer and longer. You need those activities of daily living in your life so that you can stay independent. And I know for most people that's really important, right? We want to be able to stay in our homes. We don't want to have to go to any sort of facility. So we need to make sure that we can maintain our ability to do those activities of daily living. Regular physical activity is going to ensure that you can. Now, I mentioned the buckets that I'd be able to put everybody's kind of mental picture of what physical activity is, what exercise is. There's multiple different types, and there's many, many subcategories. I've tried to break it down to the really important ones. We've got muscular strength. Ooh, we've got pictures for this one. So, muscular strength is, if you can imagine the Olympic weightlifters, when they do things like the clean and jerk, they do it once, right? They put on a whole bunch of weight onto their barbell, they do it once, they set it down, they walk off, a new person comes up with a little bit more weight, can they do it? It's just one time. Muscular strength is the amount of work that a single muscle or group of muscles can perform once. If you were to think of this as a bicep curl, can I do a bicep curl with a 20-pound weight? Can I do it just once and then the second time, oh, I'm really struggling, I don't even know if I could do it once. That's muscular strength. There's some subcategories to this. Muscular endurance is going to be a subcategory of that, and here's our guy doing push-ups. So when you think about someone doing push-ups, it's always push-ups, multiple. You don't just get down on the floor and do a single push-up. I don't really get down on the floor and do any push-ups, but you're doing multiple. So this is the muscle or group of muscles' ability to perform an activity multiple times. So real-world example of these two things. I've got 4 cats. If anybody wants to know how many cats is too many cats, 4 cats is too many cats. Part of how I know that is because I get cats that are delivered to me in 40-pound bags. I get 2 of them. They come to my house every month. So much poo. So muscular strength is that bag of cat litter has been delivered to my front door. Can I pick it up? Oh gosh, it's really heavy. I have to put it back down again. Muscular endurance is, can I pick it up, bring it into my house, set it down, take it out of the box, cut it open, pour it into the litter box, and then set it back down again, not spill it all. So muscular endurance, personally, I think of as a little bit more important than muscular strength. It's a subcategory of muscular strength. You do need both. But if I had to pick one, it would be endurance. I would choose repetitions over total weight. Now, I'm going to mention briefly, even though it's not particularly important to us, other subcategory here, and it's called hypertrophy, or better known as bodybuilding. Ooh, I have a good picture. Yeah, looking good. All right, so now, well, that's an extreme example, but the reason I put it in here is because I do sometimes find with people that they want to shy away from muscular strength training because they're afraid they're going to bulk up. Of course, I hear this mostly from ladies. When the reality is, it's very unlikely to happen for a couple of reasons. One is a very specific and incredibly intensive training protocol that you need to bulk up the muscles. You need to be working out multiple times a day. You need to be doing specific protocols. You need to be eating a particular way. And also, as we age, and also because we're women, us ladies, and also if we're postmenopausal, any kind of bulking up is just going to be really challenging to do. So if you do muscular strength training, 15 to 30 minutes a day, 2 to 3 times a week, never going to bulk up. Going to get stronger, going to get more capable, but you don't have to worry about, well, I'd say we don't have to worry about looking like this. I don't know, maybe you want to. All right, so that was our one bucket that people like to think about. They like to think about muscular strength. Here's our other bucket, cardio. All right, and here's our fun little group dancing. So you could say cardiorespiratory, you could say cardiovascular. It's usually just said as cardio. Either one of those things is true and is accurate. Cardio is increasing your respiratory rate, so how much you're breathing, how hard you're breathing, as well as how hard your heart is working, and whether it's pumping harder, whether it's pumping more beats per minute. All of that is going to be cardio. Walking, jogging, hiking, running, swimming, biking, golfing, bowling, gardening could even qualify. Absolutely. If you're getting your heart rate up and you're breathing harder, it's going to qualify as cardio. There's a third bucket. Flexibility, also very important. This is where I started to get a little silly with our photos. So when I talk about flexibility, it doesn't have to be this kind of an extreme kind of stretching. But if you are concerned about kind of those daily aches and pains and creaks and groans that you've got, flexibility work is going to be one of the very best ways to help alleviate that. So flexibility work, super, super important in how our body feels. Does not need to be that extreme. Balance, also very important. Now, a lot of people, when I say balance, immediately think about standing on one leg, while like this lady. Now, while standing on one leg for 30 seconds or more is a really fun party trick, it's not necessarily necessary in our daily life. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't find the need to stand on one leg without moving or holding on to anything. So I rarely train anybody to stand on one leg. There are multiple ways that we can get there way before that. You start with a wide base, you make it more of a narrow base, then you start to do a staggered stance. Maybe you add an unstable surface. Those are the things that are going to be much more relevant in our life, because why we need balance is to maintain our agility. Can't resist a cute dog photo. So obviously we're not going to be doing something like that, but agility is a rapid change of direction or a rapid change of speed. So starting, stopping. This is important to avoid fall risks and trips, being able to recover and not trip on the sidewalk and face plant. All right, so we want to make sure that we're getting muscular strength training, we're getting some cardio in there as well, and as well the flexibility, balance, and agility work. Bye-bye, doggy. But how much do we need? Well, the government says that we need at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity cardio. So that would be brisk walking, not just a stroll. Dancing would also qualify, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity cardio, so hiking, jogging, running, plus 2 days of muscular strength, and activities to improve your balance. That's kind of a lot, 150 minutes. The good news is you don't have to do it all at once. So cardio could just be 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And in fact, more often is much better. So personally, most of my personal training is done as 30-minute sessions. I occasionally have clients who will ask me if I can do 45-minute sessions instead. I say, yes, certainly. But what if we could do 30 minutes 3 times a week instead of twice a week, 45? That would be much more important. And in fact, Doesn't even need to be 30 minutes a day all at once. Maybe it's 5 minutes every hour for 6 hours. I think my math is correct. Every little bit counts. Move more and sit less throughout the day. Some physical activity is always better than none. There was a really cool study that just came out actually about how people could do a single bicep curl 3 days a week. And at the end of a couple months, they experienced a relatively significant and certainly noticeable difference in their muscular strength. Now, the factors here that you would need to consider are that it was the extension phase that was more important. That's the lengthening. Apart from that, grab yourself a set of weights. Set it on your coffee table. Every time you walk by, do a single bicep curl. Walk on, continue on with your day. Always, a little bit is better than nothing. 30 minutes of exercise 3 to 5 times a week lowers your risk of developing breast cancer by 30 to 50%. That's great. All of these other common types of cancer are going to have a lower risk when you are exercising regularly. So endometrial cancer, kidney, bladder, esophageal, stomach, and colon cancer. Important for prevention. Cookies. As well as other benefits too. Reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, lowers your risk of type 2 diabetes. I just had a friend who got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Improves your sleep and your energy levels, strengthens your bones and your muscles, helps to control your weight, lowers your risk of dementia and cognitive decline. All really great things. So how do we get it in? What do we do? Well, stop working out. Start working in. So you don't have to go to a gym. And lots of gyms work with like 60-minute classes, right? All right, well, let's do the math here. You get ready before you go. That takes, 10, 15 minutes? You drive to where the class is. That probably takes 10, 15 minutes. You're there a little bit early. You do the class, maybe you stay and chat a little bit at the end. Then you drive home. Then you're cleaning yourself up. Then you get yourself back in the mood to do whatever else it was that you were going to do with your day. Now you're over 2 hours. That's hard. I get it. You don't have to do it that way. You could find shorter sessions, or you could do things like creating an environment that causes you to move more throughout your day. Like I mentioned with the toys. Have a set of barbells in your living room. Have a resistance tube in your kitchen. Anytime you walk by, just play with it. Don't toss around a 20-pound dumbbell, but lighter weights, resistance tube, pretty much anything you do is not going to hurt yourself. Remove barriers and excuses. This is a big one, and we've probably got lots of those. As an example, I would say, if you hate running and you're not a morning person, maybe don't have a goal of getting up an hour earlier to go for a run every day. Probably not very likely to happen. Find an activity that you enjoy. Maybe find a friend you enjoy doing it with. You gotta knock down all of those barriers and excuses. However that needs to happen, don't be afraid to get creative. Making it enjoyable. Here's a group doing, looks like what was the game where you take away a chair and everybody's going around? Musical chairs? Yeah, something as simple as that. But yeah, so just play some games with your friends or your neighbors that are gonna involve standing up, sitting down. One of my personal favorites, I've fallen out of the habit recently, but there was a point not too long, pre-COVID. So many things. It was pre-COVID. I trained myself every time I would sit down, I would stand up and sit back down again. And then every time I stood up, I'd sit back down and stand back up again. So I got an extra twice as many sits and stands in the course of my day. Sometimes it's something as simple as that. Always important to drink more water. A lot of times we don't want to drink more water because it means we have to get up and go to the bathroom more often. But what's happening when you get up and go to the bathroom? You're moving. So drink more water. You get the benefit of drinking more water. You get the benefit of getting up, sitting down, standing up, moving. All right, here's a list of things that you are probably not going to be able to see no matter where you are in the room. But so many options we have available to us nowadays. So DIY, that's going to be like just leaving your house and going for a walk, right? Super low cost, very accessible. Of course, the con of that is that you have to rely upon your own self-efficacy. And of course, it can become repetitive or boring. There's classes, there's so many classes. We have so many gyms. And not only gyms, but we have all these really specific boutique studios now. Pilates, yoga, cycling, rock climbing, martial arts, doing special, the studio down the street from me, once a month they have a women's self-defense class. That's excellent. That's great socialization. It's generally still reasonable cost-wise. It's not quite as individualized, and yeah, there could be some crowds which might make some of us nervous. You could do personal training, very individualized, very motivating, very safe because you don't have to worry about doing something incorrectly. You've got your trainer right there. Of course, it is going to be the most costly option, and you're going to have to find the right one for you because trainers tend to have a little bit of a niche. So you want to find the person that's going to mesh with you and your needs. You could be doing things in person. Nowadays, we have tons of virtual and online options. So if technology is not a barrier for you, get on your computer and do a class on YouTube. That would be a pre-recorded option. So you could do it live, classes that are live streaming, or something pre-recorded. All right. That's the exercise portion. We're going to move into nutrition now. We have a lot to cover in this section. We're going to do an overview of nutrition just as a reminder for everybody, because it might have been a while since you learned some specifics about macro and micronutrients, hydration needs, how to read a food label, because they keep changing them, what your nutrition needs might look like, and then we'll briefly cover supplements, pharmacological concerns, and chronic disease. So, macronutrients, all right, these are the big components of food. Carbohydrates, they contain 4 calories per gram. That's going to be your body's preferred source of energy as well as your brain's preferred source of energy. They come in simple forms. We think of that as sugars, and complex forms. Fiber is a carbohydrate. Men should be consuming 30 grams per day. Women should be consuming 21 grams per day. Those are minimum numbers. Protein, also 4 calories per gram. This is the building block of your muscles, and they are composed of amino acids, 9 of which are essential. Essential meaning your body isn't going to make it on its own, and you need to get it from a dietary source. Fat, also a macronutrient, 9 calories per gram. Hence the 80s and 90s no/low fat phase, right? The thought was if we cut out something that's twice as many calories as carbohydrates and protein gram for gram, then we'll lose weight. We learned that's not really the case. Fat is really important. Fat can be broken down into 3 main categories: monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and saturated. Generally speaking, saturated fats are going to be the solid fats. Poly and mono are going to be liquid. Mono is the best one, quote unquote. I remember that because mono is one, poly is many, and more isn't always better. Cholesterol is also part of the component of fat. Now, those are the 3 main ones, but it is important to talk about another category of macronutrient, which is alcohol. That's 7 calories per gram. Men are allowed to consume up to 2 drinks a day. Women are allowed to consume up to 1 drink a day. I find that incredibly unfair. I also find it incredibly unfair that a drink is not, You know, the wine goblet that holds half the bottle of wine. That's like 4 drinks. We do have an increased sensitivity to alcohol as we age, and many medications interact really poorly with alcohol. So it's important to at least have that somewhere in your head, the facts about micronutrients. Micronutrients are going to be your vitamins and minerals. Vitamins are both water soluble and fat soluble. The water soluble vitamins are the B's as well as C. Excess, whatever your body doesn't need, is just going to flush right through you because it's water soluble. There's also fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Those we can store up a little bit extra in our fat, in our adipose tissue. A can be formed as retinol forms and beta-carotene. Beta-carotene needs to have a little extra processing in your body before it turns into retinol and gets stored. Therefore, it's kind of thought to be a little bit safer because you can have too much retinol stored up inside you. Vitamin D we get from sun exposure, and we also get it from ingestion. We're getting less and less from sun exposure because of the importance we know now about sunscreen. And because we're all wearing sunscreen and putting on big hats and things, we're not getting so much vitamin D just from the sun. And so it's important that we maintain our ability to eat more vitamin D containing foods. We'll talk about that. Minerals can be broken down into electrolytes, which is sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Those are really important for maintaining your heart health, as well as how well your muscles work. If you have muscle cramps often, it might be that your electrolytes are a little bit out of whack. And generally for us, that's probably going to be that we're having too much sodium and not as much potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Just because sodium's in everything. Also, minerals is going to be iodine, phosphorus, zinc, selenium, and lots of trace minerals that you need just little bits of. Those would be like chromium, copper, fluoride, manganese, molybdenum, and biotin. There's others as well, but I didn't want to bore you any more than I may have already by listing all of these. Hydration needs, super important, and often not really thought about in nutrition, but being properly hydrated is so important to how our body feels. So what counts towards hydration? Just about everything. Water, flat, sparkling, flavored or plain, cold or hot, all of that's going to count towards your hydration, but so will coffee and tea. There's a little bit of a misnomer sometimes. We think that coffee or tea, anything caffeinated, might dehydrate us more than it actually contains in liquid. Not true, don't worry about it. Maybe don't get all of your hydration from caffeinated beverages, but you're going to be okay. Sodas and juices, milk and milk substitutes, right? So like soy milk, almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk, so many different kinds. Broth, soup, all of that counts, which is really great because we are all mostly water. All of our cells are going to work better when we're properly hydrated. Our sensation of thirst decreases with age. Always better to drink before you feel thirsty. Our kidneys become less effective, leading to unnecessary water loss, which also might be exacerbated by the use of diuretics or any other medications that might cause that to occur. It's also great that all of those different things count because, and prevention of UTIs. Because the recommendations, this is kind of bonkers, are 2.7 liters for women and 3.7 liters for men. That's recommendations for older adults. I think it's bonkers for 2 reasons. One, a 2-liter bottle of soda. We're supposed to have 1.5 of those of fluids every single day. What? Oh, good thing I like soup, I guess. Also, that's a really tricky measurement. I've seen lots of measurements over the years, right? We all used to do the 8 glasses of water, right? One of the more commonly seen ones nowadays is tricky to explain, but it's you take your weight in pounds and then you divide that in half, and then instead of pounds you say ounces, and that's how much you should have. So like I weigh 150 pounds, so half of that is 75. I should be having 75 ounces of liquid. Also a weird number for me to measure in liquid. How about an easier way? It's all about being easier. So, pale straw-colored urine. Yes, look at your pee. When you go to the bathroom, take a quick peek. There should still be a little bit of color. If your pee has gone totally clear, you are potentially overhydrated. That color might change throughout the day. If you see it like that once or twice, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if you overhydrate, it can, again, throw those electrolytes out of whack, which is going to be not so great for your heart health and if you're a muscle crampy kind of person, okay? If it's too dark, well, it might be something that you just ate, like asparagus tends to do that. Or vitamins, right? How I said all the water-soluble vitamins, the B's and the C's. So if you just took your multivitamin or any other kind of B or C enriched item, that's probably going to make your pee really dark. Congratulations, you just made really expensive pee. Again, if it happens every now and again, not a big deal. On the long term, little bit of color, good. Too much, too little, not so great. All right, food labels. They keep changing them. Here's our newest one. Oh, so many different font sizes. Which partly is to help you see the important things. Stuff that's bold, stuff that's less bold. There's some things that we want to see lower numbers, 5% or less. All right, so that would be fats. Total fats is listed, there's a percentage value. It would be great to have that be 5% or less. Cholesterol. That's a separate line underneath the fats. Now this, I know, whatever this item is, it doesn't have anything to do with animals, because that's the only place you're going to find cholesterol. Cholesterol is only in animal products. Sodium, you want sodium to be 5% or less, that's right after cholesterol. This guy's a little bit salty, not too bad. And then added sugars, that's our new line. Underneath carbohydrates, you get fiber, you get total sugars, and you get added sugars. Dang, they added a lot. Again, I don't know what that is. I've tried to find it, I have no idea. Things that we want high, 20% or more. Fiber, subcategory of carbohydrate. And any of these micronutrients, they are required now to list vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. If we can get those 20% or more, we're doing real good. This guy's got a lot of iron and a pretty good amount of calcium. So overall, would I pick this as something to eat? I don't know. 2/3 of a cup, 230 calories. Depends on what your needs are. I'm never gonna say that there's a particular food that everybody should eat or that no one should eat. It's all about choices. What to eat? Well, there's a number of different recommended eating plans that come up again and again and again and again in studies that are shown to be the most nutritious, most well-balanced, best for just about everybody. They are the USDA plan, DASH, that's the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. Everything's got to have an acronym. The Mediterranean diet, and then vegetarian or whole food plant-based diets. These ones come up again and again and again as being very healthy. Conveniently enough, they all have some really cool things in common. And so, why don't we look at just having diets that are high in vegetables and fruits? Don't know anybody who's ever said that those are bad things. High in whole grains. Moderate amounts of high protein foods such as seafood, beans and peas, nuts, seeds, soy products, meat, poultry, and eggs. Small amounts of added sugars, which nicely now we have that on our food labels. More liquid than solid fats. Oh, and then this one makes me sad. Generally low in full fat dairy products. I was with them up until then. All right, so everybody always wonders what we should eat, and there's always a new fad diet. If we can just keep these common features in mind, we're gonna be pretty good. Now, how do you know what your caloric needs are? That's kind of tricky, but it all does boil down to in versus out. If you're trying to maintain your weight, you got to be eating as much as you're burning, or burning as much as you're eating. No less than 1,200 calories per day unless medically supervised. Generally speaking, 1,600 to 2,000 calories a day for women, 2,000 to 2,800 calories a day for men. But the calculations are based on a number of factors. Your biological sex, your chronological age, how active you may or may not be. Oops. So there's your variance that's going to be tricky to calculate, and why we naturally experience a bit of fluctuation. And maybe you twisted an ankle and you didn't exercise for a month. It's only natural that you're probably going to put on a couple pounds from that, but they'll probably come right back off again once you start moving again. Maybe not right back. All right, I find it easier, instead of having to count calories, to just ask myself 3 quick questions when I'm going to be sitting down to any sort of food, or on the run, eating any sort of kind of food. All right, those 3 quick questions. Am I hungry? Is it smart? How much do I need? This is just going to create some mindfulness about what it is that you are eating. The answers don't have to all be quote unquote perfect. This fits all scenarios. All right, so I'm gonna have 2 scenarios going on here. Am I hungry? Yes. I just did a big exercise class. It's lunchtime. I'm hungry, it's time for lunch. Am I hungry? No. It's been a crappy, stressful day. I'm kind of pissed off at the world, but I feel like I have to eat something. All right, is it smart? Yes, I pre-made my lunch that morning before I left. It's this great salad with lots of fresh produce and a little grilled chicken on top, and I've got just a little balsamic that I've drizzled on top. It's amazing. Is it smart? No. It is a container of chocolate malted crunch ice cream from Thrifty's. It's my favorite flavor in the whole wide world. How much do I need? Well, I'm going to eat this whole big salad because I'm hungry and I'm active and it's nutritious food. Do I need the whole carton? I might. But maybe I'll start with a small bowl. And I'm going to turn off distractions and I'm going to let myself enjoy this food that I feel like I just need to have right now. And I'm going to give myself a couple minutes. And if I need another bowl, want another bowl, then I might have it. But I'm making a conscious decision. I'm not going to just turn on the TV and pretend like it's not happening. All right? Just being mindful. Plenty of other concerns that might come up with nutrition. Supplements. I get asked about supplements a lot. I like to call them pills, potions, and powders. They come in a lot of different forms. We've got vitamins, minerals, herbs and botanicals, protein powders, and amino acids, pre- and probiotics. Plenty of other things like homeopathics, fish oil, caffeine pills. All of this is going to be part of the supplements category. You go to somewhere like Sprouts or Whole Foods, it's probably pretty freaking overwhelming because it's aisle after aisle after aisle. They've got like one brand of toilet paper, but they've got 3 aisles of supplements. All right, I get it. It's confusing. Dietary Supplement Act and Education Act, 1994. FDA is no longer authorized to approve dietary supplements for safety and effectiveness before they are marketed. Mixing medications and dietary supplements can endanger your health. Don't assume natural means safe. The sun can't get much more natural than the sun, but it burns us. Arsenic is in apple seeds. Plenty of other things. It's natural. It's not safe. So talk to your healthcare professional before taking any supplement. Be sure to have a list of all supplements and medications that you take with you, updated and on file at all times. This is really important. I'm not anti-supplement, but it's important to have a reason to be taking a supplement. Don't take supplements just as an insurance policy, and please make sure that you're conveying whatever it might be that you are taking with your entire medical team. Anytime that it changes, let them know. There's some really good reasons for that, and I'm going to keep saying, talk to your doctor, talk to your doctor. So the bottom line with supplements, only take them if you have a genuine need. There's strong science to back up its usefulness. You're buying from a trusted manufacturer, and that kind of changes. We keep seeing studies like on Consumer Reports. We tested these 20 different, versions of this vitamin B pill, and we found that 90% of them were contaminated with lead. Ooh. Your medical team knows you're taking it and approves of your using it. But there are some important nutrients to take as we age, and supplementation might be necessary for those. So vitamin B12, this is a really big one, very important. The recommended amount is about 2.4 micrograms, so it's a teeny amount that we need, but deficiency affects anywhere from 1.5 to 15% of the public. So that's like 1 in 10 with some variance. The only food sources are animal products and foods that have been fortified. So if you are someone who's vegetarian or vegan, or even maybe pescatarian and just doesn't eat a lot of meat, it's going to be important for you to make sure that you have enough vitamin B12. A lot of older adults aren't making enough stomach acid to absorb the B12 that is available in food. Gastrointestinal surgeries and digestive disorders like celiac and Crohn's can affect the absorption. And vitamin C megadosing interferes with B12 absorption. That's an important one to throw out there because with COVID and colds, and a lot of people like to take big doses of vitamin C. I'm not going to tell you not to, that's not for me to say. But if you're also taking a vitamin B12 supplement, don't take them at the same time.
Wow, good to know.
Deficiency in vitamin B12 can present as tiredness, weakness, constipation, loss of appetite, weight loss, nerve problems, tingling in hands and feet, problems with balance, depression, and poor memory. Now, apart from the weight loss, that sounds like a lot of just kind of common complaints that we have as we get older. So perhaps a vitamin B12 deficiency is at least partly to blame. There's some medications that can lower B12 levels. These are generally things that have to do with affecting the amount of stomach acid that you're making. So Prilosec, Prevacid, Pepcid, Tagamet, Zantac, and then for diabetes, metformin. There's a very easy blood test that your doctor can order to determine if you're deficient, and then supplementation is very easy. We also want to make sure we're getting enough protein. Eating enough protein helps prevent the loss of lean muscle mass. That's called sarcopenia. All right, so older adults often eat too little protein, and especially 71 plus. Tend to get enough meats, poultry, and eggs. So if you are going to add some more protein, maybe think about doing it in the form of seafood, dairy, and fortified soy alternatives, beans, peas, and lentils. And in particular, those protein sources also provide additional nutrients such as calcium, vitamin D, fiber, and B12 that I was just talking about. Recommended amounts vary. They vary tremendously. I've seen some really huge variance from 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of weight. Well, who knows how many kilograms I weigh in this country. So let's see, kilogram is 1 pound, 2.2 kilograms. So it's approximately half. Like I said, I weigh 150 pounds, about half that's 75, times 1 to 1.2, gets me to about 75 grams per day. That is the most widely expressed number that I've seen, is just a number. Everybody look to get at least 75 grams of protein. Fairly easy to make that calculation because on all of your food labels, it's going to list protein and it's going to list how many grams it has per serving. All right, so chronic disease and nutrition. Osteoporosis and osteopenia. We're going to make sure you're getting recommended amounts of calcium. That's going to be 1,200 milligrams per day for women who are 50 plus. and 1,000 milligrams a day for men who are 51 to 70, but 1,200 milligrams a day for men who are 71 plus. Also making sure you're getting enough vitamin D, 15 micrograms per day for adults up to 70, 20 micrograms a day if you are older than 70. Vitamin K, 90 micrograms per day for women, 120 micrograms a day for men. And some additional tips. You're wanting to maintain a healthy body weight. And in particular, the more slim that you are puts you at higher risk of osteoporosis and osteopenia. But if you get to have too much weight on your body, that can be stressful if you are already suffering from osteoporosis or osteopenia. You want to make sure you're engaging in regular physical exercise, and that would be preferably weight-bearing as tolerated. So swimming is a fantastic exercise, but if you're trying to prevent osteoporosis, that wouldn't be my first choice for you. I would want you to be doing something more like walking, doing some basic strength training, maybe dancing as well as it was low impact. Minimize the risk of falls. Ooh, I just slipped right through that. Good thing it was small print, because I know you can't see it anyway. I could barely read it as it was. Hypertension, high blood pressure. Anybody want to raise their hand? Just me? I'm the only one? Oh, yay, my sister does too. Yay. High blood pressure crew. All right, really common. We got the genetic kind. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So a lot of people know if you've got high blood pressure, you want to make sure you're watching your sodium intake. That's really important to keep that low, not only by adding less salt to your meals, but by checking food labels consistently. You will be surprised where sodium hides. It's in everything nowadays, especially since they started doing salted caramel desserts. The Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams a day, with an ideal limit of no more than 1,500 milligrams per day for most adults. Cutting back by just 1,000 milligrams a day can improve blood pressure and heart health. 1,500 milligrams a day can easily be found in a single meal, especially something from like a fast food place. It's really bonkers how much salt is out there. Conversely, you want to make sure you're increasing your potassium intake as approved by your medical team. There are some exceptions to that, people who would want to watch out for potassium levels that would be high. But for most of us, we would want to do this. So supplementation is not really as feasible with potassium. There's some really good reasons for that. If you do have too much potassium, that can cause your heart rate to on you. So it's hard to get there though. But they limit supplements to be 3% of your potassium requirements per day per serving. And each serving of a potassium supplement pill is like 5 pills. So you'd be taking an entire bottle of potassium pills. So don't try to get it through supplementation. Conveniently enough though, there's a ton of really high potassium foods, and they're really good ones. They're really yummy ones. So potatoes and sweet potatoes. You need an excuse to eat more potatoes? It's because you need more potassium, and it's easy to remember. Potatoes, potassium. Soy products, so edamame, tofu, soy milk. Avocados, tomatoes, beets. Beet juice was a real popular thing there for a while, fad item that was being sold to help you with potassium for post-workout. I saw once it was like a 3-ounce bottle, and it was $7. Just eat some beets. Coconut water and watermelon, yummy. Beans and some fish, tuna, halibut, cod, trout, and rockfish. Cooked spinach and broccoli. What am I missing?
Bananas.
And yes, bananas. I don't know where and why bananas became like the thing that we suggest to people for more potassium. Yeah, bananas are a decent source. But if you were going to try to get all of your potassium needs from bananas, that's a ridiculous thing to do. But if you were going to, you'd need to eat about a dozen bananas. So all of those things on the list are better sources of potassium than bananas. Bananas are great. They're easy, they're cheap, they're transportable, they don't require refrigeration or cooking. But yeah, plenty of other things that you can pick from too. All right, pharmacology concerns. And I brought out the big, bold red print. Whenever taking drugs, read the label and insert carefully for warnings. And then also, of course, we're always talking with our medical team. So grapefruit juice and statins. That's a pretty commonly known one. You don't want to take any of your cholesterol lowering drugs that are statins with grapefruit juice. It makes the drug more readily absorbed. And so that's going to lead to potentially any side effects that you get from that drug might be heightened if you're having grapefruit juice. Studies recently have shown that it's really not as severe as we were concerned about. If you're just having a little glass, once a day, just don't take your pills with the grapefruit juice and don't drink a quart or more. All right? And maybe just have a half of a grapefruit instead of the juice. It's better for you anyway. More fiber. Grapefruit juice is also going to interact with calcium channel blockers. That's for high blood pressure and angina, as well as Raynaud's, and for migraine prevention. Again, it makes the drug more readily absorbed, so your side effect risk is going to be greater. Dizziness, edema, heartburn, constipation, tiredness. We don't want any of that. Warfarin and vitamin K. So warfarin's a blood thinner, prevents blood clots. Vitamin K is going to make your warfarin less effective. Now, warfarin's one of those drugs that they probably play around with the dose with you when you're on it a little bit until they find just the right level for you. So you don't want to start changing the amount of vitamin K that you're ingesting. So don't all of a sudden start eating a bunch of dark leafy greens, broccoli, asparagus, seaweed, chamomile, or green tea, because that's going to really start mucking with your warfarin. Warfarin in plenty of other kinds of drinks, cranberry juice, grapefruit juice, alcohol, can all lead to bleeding problems. Warfarin in a high-protein diet. High-protein diet can lead to a decrease in the efficacy of warfarin. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to have a high-protein diet, also have some vitamin K-rich foods. It'll all balance out. No, don't do that. Don't change things if you're on a drug. Alcohol and any drug. Wah, wah. Alcohol can increase or decrease the effect of many drugs and place additional stress on the liver and kidneys. Do not take any medications or supplements with alcohol. I love to have a glass of wine every night. That's also when I tend to take my pills. So I try really hard to make sure that I've cut myself off from my wine at least an hour before I've taken those medications. The medications that I'm on, they're not super specific as far as what time of day I need to have them. So if for any reason I haven't cut myself off and I'm going to bed, I just leave my medications out where I'm going to see them first thing in the morning and I take them then. Of course, it would be best if I would just stop having that glass of wine every night, but MAOIs and pickled, cured, and fermented foods. So MAOIs were some of the first antidepressants. They can also treat Parkinson's. Those pickled, cured, and fermented foods contain tyramine. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that can raise your blood pressure. They affect the metabolism of the tyramine, so your blood pressure rise can be more pronounced. So, no salami if you're on MAOIs. Calcium-containing foods and many kinds of drugs. So lots of antibiotics are less effective when they're taken with calcium-containing foods, which is a bummer because we all want to take our yogurt when we're taking our antibiotics so that we don't have so much gastrointestinal problems. Just don't take it at the same time. Eat your yogurt at a separate time for when you are taking your antibiotic. Bisphosphonates are absorbed less in the presence of calcium and other minerals. Wait at least an hour. And antacids with calcium carbonate, thiazide diuretics for your hypertension, your high blood pressure, lithium for mood disorders, and thyroxine for hypothyroidism. Increase the calcium level in the body. You want to pay special attention that you are, if you are eating foods that are high in calcium, because you don't want to have too high of calcium. All right, that's going to set you at risk for kidney stones and other things. All right, so I get that nutrition is very confusing at times. You want to do this, except when you don't want to do that, and then do this other thing instead, even though that said something over here that was different. So stick to the basics. Remember those high fruits and vegetable diet with high whole grains and moderate amounts of protein. Those are all the basics. I think we can all agree on those. I don't know anybody that's ever felt that none of that is a good recommendation. Just stick with that. You don't have to follow the newest fad and whatever study might have come out. Wait a year, a study's going to come out that shows exactly the opposite thing. Don't start taking supplements for no reason or as an insurance policy. That doesn't exist, right? Don't fall for the newest hype or fad, and communicate with your medical team. All right, maybe all of this is leading you to think that you want to make a change. What's the best way to go about it? Make a SMART goal. That's the second page in your handout. SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Not a very great goal would be, I want to get into better shape. What does that even mean? When is it going to happen? How am I going to get there? How about, by the end of September, I will be getting all 150 minutes per week of the recommended cardio. We've picked one thing to focus on. I've given myself a time limit. It's achievable because we know we can do it in tiny little chunks throughout the course of our day. It's relevant, something we all need to be doing, and it's really specific. Y'all can get a free month of my on-demand videos. There's over 100 of them. There's some low-impact dance fitness classes. There's basic strength training and flexibility classes. There's recovery. There's something called Tabata Express. It's a high-intensity interval training class. It sounds really scary, but just trust me, it's fun. You use the code Healthy Habits, and that website that looks a little bit wacky is at the bottom of the brochure. That is on everybody's table, the inside at the very bottom. All right? So now's the time that we can have Q&A. And I will A to the very best of my abilities. Does anybody have a Q? Yes.
The most confusing thing to me is multivitamins. Where is a source besides consumer or whatever it is, reports? There's just thousands of them. And how do you know that it's worth it or that it's helpful?
Such a good question. Yes, multivitamins. And the question is, how do you know which one is a good one to take? Should you even be taking one? There is some conflicting advice out there about whether you should be taking a multivitamin or not. The most recent advice is that if you are 65 plus, yes, you should be taking a multivitamin. As I always say, speak to your doctor. How do you know which one is a good one? For me, it's going to be one of the name brands. They're going to be used a lot. They're going to be studied a lot. So like a Centrum, one of those big brands. Don't choose to get the generic or something. And then look at the label, because a lot of multivitamins are going to have really huge amounts of some nutrients. So you look at the percentages, and you're going to want to see something that's close to or around 100% or even less, because theoretically you're getting some of these nutrients from your food. I always shy away from things that are like, 3,000% of your vitamin C. That's just going to go straight through you and into the toilet. Yes?
Oh, it's on the same question, because while you were mentioning vitamins earlier, I had to Google my own vitamin, because you mentioned B12 was a big one. You said you need something like 4 micrograms a day, or I forget the number. So my Centrum Silver for people over 50 has 4,000% of the vitamin B12.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, I know you're not a physician, but
Right.
Is that like a horrible thing? Because then, there's
So-
your off-the-shelf name brand thing I've been taking for 10 years.
Right. And part of why I think they put these mega doses in is because there are all these things that can interact with our ability to absorb it. Now, the flip side of that is if you've got 4,000% of it in you all at once, your body's only going to be able to absorb so much of that anyway. So that's going to be definitely a vitamin that when your body has metabolized it, whether that's a couple hours or a day later, you're going to have bright yellow pee. Because that's just all the vitamin B going straight through you into the toilet.
On the beets, you said to look at your urine.
Oh yeah,
If you eat beets, your urine will look like your motor.
yes, beets can do that to your pee too, yeah.
Also, when you ask yourself, am I hungry? Ask yourself, am I hungry or am I just thirsty?
Yes. Am I hungry or am I thirsty? Am I hungry or am I emotional? Am I hungry or am I bored? There's a lot of reasons why it might not really be hungry. Did I answer the multivitamin and the B12 adequately for you?
I guess I'm hearing, my doctor doesn't say all of them just deny anything on it. So I'm just trying to find, other than big names like Centrome,
Yeah.
there's no one source that sort of evaluates multivitamins.
Not that I've seen. I haven't seen like a reputable company that's all that they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's many,
And-
many.
And it, unfortunately, it changes. They change the formulation often enough that, even if they did and you looked at a Consumer Reports article from a decade ago, I wouldn't necessarily choose to believe that information because things would be different by now.
Thank you.
We're needing to wrap things up. Is there still any other cues? Or just comments? Concerns?
Where is your fitness studio?
Oh, yeah, I could mention that. So I am located out on North Fairview Avenue. If you know where the Fairview Movie Theater is, next in the Fairview Shopping Center there, I'm right across the street. You've probably driven past me a bunch of times. There's a fuel depot right on the corner, and there's a veterinary clinic, Noah's Ark. A tiny little strip mall-y thing, shopping center back in there, and I've got one of those little spaces. My little personal training studio is maybe 2/3 the size of this room. We do low impact dance classes and basic strength training and flexibility class. I cap those classes at 12 people in person. They're also live streamed. The camera's focused on me, so you don't have to worry about other people at home watching you exercise, but you can join into the class live, either at home or at the studio. And then of course I do personal training as well, and that's just one-on-one, just you and me in the studio space, no mirrors. I've got air conditioning. We put on some good music. Yeah, it's good times. Are we doing a raffle?
Yes, we're
Oh, is there a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm extremely impressed with the amount of information that you have communicated.
Aw, thank you.
What is your background?
So I started as a youngster in the world of ballet, and that led me down some interesting paths as I got older. And I was really concerned with nutrition because I saw some really bad nutrition. And I took a bit of a winding path, but got back into fitness. My mother-in-law suggested that I would be a good Zumba instructor, so I went to a Zumba instructor course, having never taken a class. And I was like, this is it, this is perfect, this is my passion, this is what I need to be doing. And then I worked at some gyms, and I worked at UCSB, and ultimately opened my own studio space because I didn't see anything in town that was exactly what I wanted, and that was, I'm a bit of an introvert at heart. I deal with small crowds pretty well, but I'm not the kind of person who wants to go to the class in town with 150 people or shoulder to shoulder, really sweaty and, no offense, but kind of the dude bros in the corner grunting while they're lifting their weights and young things in skimpy clothing, I lose fitting shirts. So I created my studio based around that and have continued to educate myself on the things that I find most important, which are aging gracefully and healthfully, and in particular, helping and working with people who are cancer patients and cancer survivors.
Thank you very much.
Aw, thank you.
Let's get Rachel up there.
I also want to just say quickly, I'm also the kind of person who thinks of the question the day after the opportunity. So on the back of the brochure is my contact information. The address for the studio is on there, but it's my personal cell phone number. You can call that, you can text that, you can email me if you think of something else that you would like to have explained. I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you, Rachel. I met Rachel several years ago at the Senior Expo, and that's where we met, and we will both be there this October, next month. So come look for us at the Senior Expo. The dates? Oh, October 6th or something? Something. Oh, and we will have a photo booth there.
Yes.
So, any rate, we're gonna get ready for the raffle. Did anybody not get a raffle ticket? Oh, Bonnie did not get one. Oh, the 4th. It's October 4th, which is a Wednesday for the Senior Expo at Earl Warren. I'm sorry. And the day before, I think it's October 3rd, we'll have our next senior seminar, which will be Quinn Fiduciary. And Mr. Coates will be doing trust also. He's a trust attorney coming. And so if you want to learn more about Quinn Fiduciary and talk to a trust attorney, they'll be here and available for you next month. So, okay, she's going to pick.
All right.
And do we need glasses to see? Oh, you got your glasses.
And Nancy, what's in the basket?
Oh, we got lots of goodies from Santa Barbara Gift Baskets. They're out in Goleta, and if you want beautiful gift baskets, they have it. And we have Prosecco, we have a candle, we have some honey and gift certificates. One's with Rachel, and so and natural history. So it's a great gift basket.
And the winning number is 2946563. Oh my goodness! Winner! Come on up! Yay! And can someone raise their hand if they have a birthday this month? Okay, we're gonna go off my oldest son's birthday. He will be 23 on September 26th. So at your table, the person with the birthday closest to September 26th, please bring this beautiful plant home with you, and they are provided by Pour Lamar Nursery. So thank you all so very much for coming. Oh, you can stay up here.
And we'll see you next month. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what to do. Maybe I'm now.
Very nice talking to
And then we
you.
need a picture of you with the basket.
I know, it's kind of funny. Priscilla and then Jose Maria and Abasti and then Boulder. It's been a long time. Yeah, I was there really in the early 90s. But yeah, I know it has. You still have connections there? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sure the area around the hill and stuff is not that changed. There's no more land to do anything. It's just that it's sort of spread out.
All this corporate building everywhere. Mushrooms everywhere. So,
What brought your family to the U.S.?
well, I came here first after I graduated.
Over here. Very happy.
College in Florida.
Okay.
And then when my sister divorced, she's 190. Her background is recent. Her parents and sister all. She can explain this in the airport. But I was thinking.
I'll put it up. Yes, of course.
Got it. It was either in technology or the university or something?
Marketing.